specifically his father who raised him, who explains to him, look, it's your choices. It's what you decide. That is who you are. It's not what they tell you. It's what you decide. We raised you the best that we could raise you, but at some point we got to let you go. And it's your decisions is what makes you who you are. And that is the beauty of this movie and of who Superman is. So people can sit there and get mad about this idea and change, but it doesn't ruin anything. It heightens who Superman is. All right, so Superman came out on physical media the other day, and that was exciting. Woohoo! But along with it came director's commentary, and specifically this little bit where James was talking about the message from Jor-El and his mother about what his mission is for going to Earth and the planet really was. And there was a lot of controversy around it when the movie came out, and it kind of got drummed back up because James Gunn talked about it in the commentary. So I want to touch on this here. I want to talk about it here.
Probably the most controversial thing I did with Superman's origin. I am a big Superman fan. I don't want to change important, integral things about Superman. His goodness of heart, the fact that he won't kill, the fact that, he's in love with Lois Lane, even the curl on the head, all these things. I want to keep Superman. So the question is, what can you add to the mythos that's a little bit different, that doesn't really essentially in any way change who the character is? Clark's parents, usually in the comics, are benevolent. That isn't always the case. It hasn't always been the case. There have been stories in which, even in canon, that hasn't been the case.
I'm going to stop it there, but I like how he mentions, it's not always been the case in the comics and in lore that his parents have just been, hey, benevolent, just been like, hey, go, the hope of this world, you go do great things. It's not how it's always been. So he wanted to go in a different direction, and that's okay. Again, people, they want to make James Gunn to be this bad guy because he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no idea how to write stories or do this. And they grab onto something that's different, something that they don't necessarily like, or they're afraid to like it because it's not normal. And they go, look, bad, not good. And they freak out about it.
Agreed.
But when he sits here and talks about it, well, it makes sense. Now, the one thing that I've heard is people will sit here and say, well, this is just like how people were criticizing what Zack Snyder was doing with the Snyderverse when they didn't understand XYZ. I can understand that. Yes, I can understand that to a certain degree because BVS, a lot of people didn't like it because they didn't fully grasp what Snyder was doing with the story. But here's the thing. A lot of people didn't grasp what he was doing with the story because the story wasn't fully told. And a lot of people didn't grasp what he was doing with the story until he started saying, well, I have an idea to do this and do this and do this and then do this and then do this. And then that's when people started to get excited about the full Snyderverse. A lot of the people that liked BVS and were excited about it before he started mentioning things really just liked it because it was hardcore. It was more action. It was an interesting story, but it was not fully thought out. Oh man, this is cool. Look how dark and grim this is compared to the MCU. So, when you sit down and think about it, it's like people. Yes, people can have opinions and not like something because it's different and not like it because it strays from the comics. People can absolutely have that opinion. But the reason why people are doing it now with Superman is simply because they want to find a reason to hate James Gunn. Whereas back in 2016 or in 2013 with Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, it was more along the lines of people were saying, look, I don't like this because this isn't for me. I don't like the way this feels. I don't like the way this is going. I don't like the story. I think it was disjointed. I don't like this. It wasn't because they were sitting there saying, I don't like Zack Snyder. I hate Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's a hack. Yeah, there was absolutely some people doing that, but that wasn't the majority. And that's the difference. That's really what it comes down to. All right.
And Jor-El is not always treated as a benevolent character. They're benevolent to their son. They love their son, obviously. But they aren't necessarily benevolent in the way they think about human beings. They think of human beings as less than in this version. So that's that was the thing that was the twist. I think it works. It is not something that is going to be retrofitted in the future. It
And I like that he says that. It's not something that's going to be retrofitted. He's not changing it.
Is the fact of Superman's life. He was sent by his parents to Earth to save him primarily, but also they hoped that he would continue the Kryptonian heritage.
Oddly enough, that's exactly what Zack Snyder did, and Christopher Nolan did, and David Goyer did in Man of Steel, just in a different way.
Yep.
Like, they wanted him to be the savior of Earth. They wanted him to continue the Kryptonian heritage. Just they didn't want him to, create a harem and be this overlord. No, they wanted him to go and obviously he would start a family and that would continue the heritage of the Kryptonian of Kryptonians and such. But that's pretty much what they wanted him to do, and that's pretty much what every iteration wants him to do. There's just a slight difference in the idea and how Jor-El wants him to do that. And that's okay, because this story in particular is about his humanity on Earth and how he was raised on Earth, not this perceived idea of I was born to be something special. No, he was raised a certain way, and because he was raised that way, he was raised to be a certain way. And that is what makes this story so special compared to other stories where it's, oh, I was born and sent to be this. Whereas, no, I have a choice to be, and that's the difference.
And sort of take over Earth as its ruler. And that isn't who Superman thinks of himself as being at all. And so this moment here with Clark is so important because he's always seen himself as doing, is having this destiny. My parents sent me to Earth to be a good man and to save people and to help the Earth. And so he's always thought that what he was doing was for a reason outside of himself, that his ethics were born of something that wasn't interior but exterior. And when he's confronted with the fact that that exterior source is not at all what he thought it was, it creates a personal crisis. And that's what he's dealing with in this moment. But as the movie goes on, we discover, and more importantly, Clark discovers that what he's doing is not because of what his parents told him to do. What he's doing is because of who he is as a human being.
Exactly what I said. But I mean, that's the gist of it. People are mad because he said earlier on he wanted to keep the important stuff of who Superman is. The hair, spit curl in the hair, his love for Lois, that kind of stuff. He wanted to keep that stuff. And he felt that changing the lore of the parents was something, of his birth parents was something that could be changed. And it absolutely can be changed, because it is more important to show that Superman is able to make this choice. It is his choice to be the savior of this planet. It is his choice and his upbringing that is what has made him who he is. And that's why I think it's important. Could they do it in a different way? Absolutely. But this makes it a little more intriguing. That gives you the little twist. Is it important for Jor-El and his mother to be these benevolent beings, to be these ultra caring beings? I don't think it is important, at least to Earthlings, because what do they care about Earth? They don't care about Earth and human beings. Why would they care? They care about their son. They care about Kal-El, absolutely, and that's what's important to them. But they don't care, and they care about Kryptonians. But why would they need to care about Earthlings? Whereas Clark, who was raised among Earthlings, who was raised by Earth parents, who now has the ability to make this choice to say, wow, I've grown up thinking that I'm this one thing, but I'm not. But it's those Earth parents, it's his father and mother, specifically his father who raised him, who explains to him, look, it's your choices. It's what you decide. That is who you are. It's not what they tell you. It's what you decide. We raised you the best that we could raise you, but at some point we got to let you go. And it's your decisions is what makes you who you are. And that is the beauty of this movie and of who Superman is. So people can sit there and get mad about this idea and change, but it doesn't ruin anything. It heightens who Superman is. And that's the beautiful part about it. There's that. I mean, if you guys want to comment about it, if you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you want to add to it, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you want to add to it.